My guest today played basketball at Arizona State, where she was a three-time All Pac-10 selection. She helped ASU reach the Elite Eight in 2007, and in 2017, she was inducted into the Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame. Emily Westerberg Love. Emily, such an honor to be talking with you today. And I saw that you were in attendance at the Peach Bowl, which is super cool. So, what was your experience like at the game?
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you asked me about that. Talk about literally in the 40 years that I've been on planet Earth, my favorite way to ring in the new year was at the Peach Bowl. So my husband and I recently moved to Atlanta with our kids. And it's been about 2 years, but we found out that they made it to, and we're playing in Atlanta. So some of our favorite Sun Devils, my husband's teammates, on the ASU football team, they flew into Atlanta and we got a chance to go to the game. I mean, when I tell you the electricity in the air, it was just palpable. And we got a chance to be in a box suite with several other Arizona State graduates. And I mean, just absolutely a highlight of my 2025 year. And although the outcome was not what we hoped for, um, celebrating with the Sun Devils in our new city in Atlanta was such a marker memory for me and my husband and I, graduating there and spending so much of our formative years competing, on the football field and the basketball court, getting a chance to cheer for athletes who we know are literally giving their blood, sweat, and tears for the university. Like there's nothing better. So, Sam, we had the best time celebrating them.
Hey, that's awesome. It's awesome. And I mean, I gotta ask, I mean, what did it mean to you to see ASU make this big impact on the national stage and to be honest, capture the hearts of America?
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I would say, Sam, I think one thing I'm constantly hearing in this new sports landscape is a lack of loyalty to, schools. And I would say that that is the exact opposite in our home. My husband and I bleed maroon and gold. And so it meant so much to see our alma mater continue to strive for excellence and to know that they're on the map on a national scale is just it feels like they're getting the respect that they're due. So we're thrilled and there's so much pride, I would say. Like we actually sport our Arizona State gear all around Atlanta. And it's rare because right, it's a West Coast situation. But the pride that we feel in repping Arizona State is alive and well. So
Hey, right on, right on. It was really cool to see, and I gotta say, I'm just so happy that we have Kenny Dillingham leading the way. I mean, he's someone who loves and cares about ASU so much.
yes.
We so passionate. He lives and breathes this university, and it's very special what we have in him.
Oh, it's so true. And you're highlighting the fact that leadership is key, right? In any form of success, really the person that's leading and building into culture changes the experience for everyone. And that's what I love about him. He is a culture creator and he's holding this incredible, passionate, like what it means to be a Sun Devil in front of the football players and everybody else at the school. And it's hard for that not to catch fire.
Now let's get into your ASU journey, and I think actually a good starting point for that, the start of your amazing friendship with Aubrey Johnson. I mean, you and Aubrey met when you were 11 years old. What do you remember from meeting her for the first time?
Oh my goodness. It's funny you bring that up because I was actually just recently home to spend time with her and her family and my family in the Northwest. And we were going through old sports memorabilia. And so my parents had it at their house. And my dad actually came upon a diary that we kept, Aubrey and I, that highlighted our recruitment journey together. And it was such a kick in the pants to read our diary. We had both forgotten that we even had done it. We had actually submitted to our local paper, and they ran the story in the news. And it was so fun, Sam, to sit there and I sent it to her and we were talking about it when we were together. But there is really no basketball memories without Aubrey for me. And she, I'm a big believer that people make up our experience on planet Earth. And actually, there's a Harvard study that proves that to be true, that they found that health is related not to success or finances or even physical health, but to the quality of your relationships. And so for me and Aubrey, there's just no basketball without her. We grew up together, and we have since seen, each other married and babies born, and, careers take flight. And what we experienced in the trenches athletically is what helped us become the people that we are. So when I think of basketball, I think of her. I think of the fun that we had. I think of the level of competitiveness and discipline that we both learned just right alongside one another. In high school, when we started, really taking off in our careers, we were at the local gym 3 days a week together, doing private lessons, with one another and our shooting coach. And I mean, we were on the verge of puking every workout, but it was all okay because she was there. So she definitely defines my experience. And at Arizona State, Charlie Turner Thorne has been generous with the way that she's talked about us. But I specifically remember a moment where she said we had this like sixth sense about where one another were on the court. And I mean, it's kind of just true. I felt like I didn't even need to see her to know where she was on the court. We had a synergy, and Charlie Turner Thorne had said she hadn't seen two players ever play quite like Aubrey and I did. And Sam, that is one of the most remarkable moments, legacies that I feel like I'll live, is getting to be known as like the Emily and Aubrey duo.
Hey, that's awesome. It's awesome. And I think it's so cool that you and Aubrey have built this great lifelong connection. Like I believe I think I saw that you and Aubrey had done like some I think some traveling together
Yeah.
recently and stuff. So I mean I think it's super cool.
We just got to celebrate our 40th birthday in Portugal together with our husbands. So we had quite a time. And Sam, it's like anything that's like sports, friendships, relationships are like sports. You have to put in time and you have to build that. So we're still building our friendship even today.
Hey, right on. What were your favorite things to do in Portugal?
Oh my goodness. We ate and drank our way through in espressos all through. We'd have espressos in the morning, in the afternoon, we'd have an evening espresso with dinner. So we had so much fun drinking coffee, eating the local food. We toured all around the country. So we got to see the ocean side, we got to see a river city, and then we actually flew to the Azores, which they call the Hawaii of Europe. And we got a chance to take a bike trip around the rim of a volcano. I mean, like in absolutely incredible. So I felt like to a slight degree, we're still even using some of our athletic ability together in our 40s.
That sounds incredible, and now I want to go to Portugal.
Yeah.
I got to get my
Yes.
passport ready.
Yes, Sam, do it. You will not regret it.
Now, what's so cool, I was reading this, is that you and Aubrey became so tight-knit that when it came to picking colleges, you and her became a package deal. Teams were getting either the both of you or neither. So, I mean, what was it like going through the recruitment process with her?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is another just incredible memory from our time together as athletes. And I will never forget, Sam, it is sealed in my mind. We were sophomores at the time, and we were playing in the AU circuit during the summer because that is where, right, like a lot of the exposure happened. And our AU coach, Ron Adams, actually suggested it. He like brought it up kind of as like a laughing point, but like I think a couple of colleges had asked him about it, about us playing kind of together. And he goes, "What do you guys think about being a package deal?" And Aubrey and I, it was like a light bulb went off. And we were like, oh my gosh, like, could we do this? Could we dictate sort of like and kind of formulate our own future? And so we were that close that we were like, that's it, we're doing it. And our parents were on board. And so we started telling all the coaches that we go together. You either get both of us or none of us. And we were blessed to have the success and, I mean, a lot of things I think outside of our control, like our height and our speed and our, our intellect and some of those things that you don't necessarily get a chance to decide what you're going to get. But then obviously, so the things that we did dictate, we were so fortunate enough to really have nobody bat an eye. So, Tennessee's and Stanford's and the Yukons and the Arizona States of the world were like, great, like we actually, this is better for us to have you both. And so it made it so much more memorable just to go through the recruiting process together, to build our top five, to take our recruiting trips together. Like we were making our notes of what we liked and what we didn't like. And um, again, that's part of why there's just no memory of basketball without Aubrey, because every formative experience, her and I were kind of right by each other's side. We took trips, we roomed together, we sat by each other on the airplane, and even when we were getting recruited in high school, we would our moms would take us on our summer trips, and we would beg our moms for them to share a hotel room so Aubrey and I could share a hotel room and pretend like we were already living our college days. So really, her and I together um, kind of forged the way of ultimately deciding where we wanted to go. And I will say, Sam, from the very beginning, Arizona State stood out, left an impact. And to be honest, like it was our front runner from like freshman, sophomore year of high school. It was the school that we had on our radar that we really wanted to go to.
What was it specifically like about ASU
Mm.
that made it that choice of like this is where we gotta go?
Yeah, so I remember when we were freshman, sophomore, we were on campus in April for a tournament that our college, or excuse me, that our high school AU team was playing in. And when you walk on a campus, I mean, are you kidding me? Talk about Palm Tree Row. We got on to campus, and we're Northwest girls. We're used to cold and rain and snow, 7, 8, 9 months out of the year. So, first of all, campus was absolutely stunning. The sunshine, you just don't get sick of it. The palm trees were radiant. We loved the feel of Tempe. Obviously, it's entirely different than it was back, in 2003 when we got to campus, but it was huge even back then, but it had this magnetic energy. And we loved that, campus was a square mile radius. So everything was sort of compacted right there on campus. You had everything you needed. And then obviously, so we loved that. But when we met the coaches and the players, that's really what stole the show. Charlie Turner Thorne just took our breath away. I mean, the way she leads, her passion, her inspiration, her vision for the program. And then we got a chance to meet some of the girls that were already in the team, and that really sold it for us.
What are some of the memories that you have from your freshman year, as you're transitioning to life as a student athlete in college?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I really have to. That's a great question, Sam. Well, first of all, my family of origin, I have an older sister and my mom and dad, and we're really tight knit. So I remember it was hard for me to be away from home. So there was a bit of those growing pains of just, turning into a young adult. And I will say, I remember being homesick, but because I had Aubrey, it was like manageable. Aubrey and I shared a dorm room, and we were the first athletes in this brand new dorm that was right across the street from the arena. And so I remember moving into the dorm, meeting all of the other freshman athletes that we would see coming to and from practice and, study hall and all of our meals. And really just getting acclimated to the nature of being an athlete, a college athlete. I mean, I remember the first month being on campus and actually calling my dad, and had been my basketball coach for years and years, basically a whole career, and being like, Dad, I just don't know if I'm cut out for this. Am I good enough? Because it is overwhelming as a freshman. You're lifting weights to a different degree. It feels like you're never going to catch up to the speed of the game. It is so much faster than high school. And so I do remember walking onto campus and feeling some doubt. But again, I'd look over and there'd be Aubrey, like she'd be over there at workouts with me. We really were inseparable. There was nothing that we weren't doing together. And so that helped immensely kind of buffer the nerves of being a freshman. I will say the football games are an absolute highlight. We would get ready, get dressed up, and we'd go and celebrate the football players with all of the other athletes that were pumped to go to the games. So that's for sure a highlight for me. Um, Honestly, Sam, I will never forget in the springtime, summer, or we would be, wrapping up our basketball season, and we would go lay out at the pool in between classes. And we were so thrilled that it was warm enough to be in a swimming suit in, March, April and get a tan. So those are some memories that stand out. And we would do that with all of our teammates and just had the most special relationship. I remember our freshman spring workouts. They were so hard after we had about a month off that we wouldn't be able to like move our bodies or bend our arms because we were so sore. But all of that is the student athlete experience wrapped into this magical city of Tempe, and those are really fond memories to look back on.
You mentioned some of the football games. So what were some of the games that you remember going to?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Sam, I'm terrible with specific details on scores and teams, but I do remember, and I honestly, I don't even know if I can recall any specific game or score, but I do know games. I started dating Greenland Love, who was an offensive lineman on the team, and we started dating actually in March of 2004. And so I remember some of those games going down to the wire. There were games that they won on Hail Marys. Here's what I will say. I'm not great at remembering specific details, but what I do remember is the electricity in that arena. The amount of people that would fill that 90,000, people would jam into the arena, and we would be sweating our faces off because it was so hot and nobody cared. We had so much fun. We screamed and hooted and hollered. And watching that many people pile into one place with one mission to cheer for the same team is it was a marking memory for me.
I'm so grateful for all the experiences that I had going to games over the past 4 years, all the fun times in the student section, and I tell you what, being there for the wins and the losses.
An athlete appreciates that, Sam, because not everybody is a loyal fan. And some years are just building years, right? Where you have to have those losses that develop a character in you that is essential for when you will win eventually. But not everybody understands that. But an athlete appreciates the person that's willing to stand by their side, even in the down years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that when you experience those lows, those lows only make the highs that much sweeter. I mean, that's the reason why last year was so incredible
Yes.
because we had gone through tough times with this team. So then for us to rise up and see that have this incredible year, it made it all the more special.
Oh, it's so true. It is so true. You appreciate it more. You're right.
And I tell you what, speaking of very special seasons, your senior season, I mean, incredibly special on the court. I mean, made the Elite Eight. I mean, pretty much the best season in the history of the program. But but talking about the overall story of this year, I mean, early on in the season, a very tragic event, as you know, when Aubrey's brother passed away very suddenly. And you've talked about this from your perspective before, and the impact that this had on on your life and your faith as well. The question I want to ask is just, how important was it for you and Aubrey to really be there for each other,
Mhm.
during that very difficult time?
Yeah, that was still, one of the toughest um traumatic events of my life. And it is usually, right? People, when you lose someone that you love, especially suddenly, it's incredibly traumatic. But I will say, looking back and getting a chance to be there for one another is what took our sisterhood to the next level. And, oftentimes in athletics, people see the glory, right? You turn the lights on and it's game time, and everybody gets to see sort of these like glory moments for an athlete. But that's only like 10% of our journey. And so the 90% is forged in the grueling workouts and the discipline and the mental strategy and, all these things, the way you fuel your body and rest your body, et cetera. And I will say for us that year, 90% of the time, we grieved and we grieved together. And we were actually just talking about a moment. We were at an away game, and our senior year, we ended up being roommates with each other because oftentimes we were crying before the games. That was just the nature of the depth of the grief that we were both experiencing. And I did see it as sort of my role to help emotionally be there for Aubrey and also help pull her out of the grief as best I could, even though I was grieving myself. But there were times where she came up to me on the road. I'll never forget it. We were on the bus and she was, she just started sobbing, and we had a game that day. And so I made a plan for Aubrey and I, and actually told Charlie, like, here's what we're going to do. Aubrey and I are going to go back to her room. We're going to figure it out. I'm going to get her done. We just went through this whole thing. And I was, when I look back, I'm like, man, I was 21. I don't know. I think the Lord gave me wisdom that was maybe outside of myself, because I don't even know how I knew how to do all of these things. But essentially, we had to prepare mentally for a really tough game that evening. And we did. We always ended up coming together. And so we would cry, and then we would laugh, and we would feed we would feed our bodies, and we would kind of look at each other and be like, okay, it's game time. And then we would play for one another, and we'd play for Jordan. And I wish that never happened. I wish that we could, roll out a magic timeline and skip that event. And we still miss Jordan to this day. But getting a chance to truly be there for each other when it mattered the most. I do think it's one of the reasons why we had one of the most successful seasons in school history, because our teammates also saw what we were going through, and they stepped up to support us in such a unique way. I mean, we weren't always, I think, at our best, but our teammates' abilities to, like step in and give even more than they thought that they were capable of, it became this team synergy around Aubrey and losing her brother. And I know I've talked to other teammates who were on the team at the time, and they would say that it made such an impact on them as well. So heartbreaking, and nothing I would ever want another athlete to experience. And yet, just like we talked about with, losing, even, it's these in the depths of our sorrow. If we'll let it, our character is etched in such a way that it becomes a breeding ground for something remarkable to happen. And that's what happened on our team.
That mentality of we're gonna play for each other. I think that's really special, and I think that that also speaks volumes about the person and coach that Charlie Turner Thorne is. How big was it having her,
Oh,
as the coach, during that season, and just, I mean, even just overall through your collegiate career.
I cannot literally say enough good things about Charlie Turner Thorne. And actually, as Aubrey and I, when we were in Portugal, we were playing a question game and asking each other questions when we were on a drive in the car. And I think the question was, who's made the biggest impact in your life? And she said, Charlie. Charlie is, I mean, the type of leader that you follow into battle. She is passionate and fiery, and she will go toe to toe with anyone in that little bitty body that she's in. She is not afraid to challenge the status quo. She gave more than she asked us to give. And she taught me what it meant to be a leader. She taught me what discipline looked like. She taught me what having hard conversations looked like. I mean, she's left a legacy in Aubrey and I, and I cannot thank her enough for the way that she sacrificed, because she did, because her work is sacrifice. She sacrificed time away from her family and sleep, and I mean, the amount of stress that we put her through, it was a lot. And yet, I'll never be able to repay her for what she taught us, and how she paved a way for us to be marked into our adult life. I mean, she set the standard for what it meant to be an excellent performer and a phenomenal human. And we learned that, Sam, at Arizona State under Charlie Turner Thorne.
I'm sure as you know, we just hired very recently Molly Miller as our new head coach, and from the stuff that she said, and just from what I've seen in this early going, um, I definitely see some Charlie in Molly.
Hmm. I do too. I'm excited to meet her. I'm very excited. In fact, it's kind of a wild world, but my neighbor who I'm really close friends with actually played with Molly Miller, in college. And so when she got hired, we were like, anyways, we were so excited about that connection. But Molly Miller seems as passionate, as fiery, as committed as Charlie Turner Thorne is and was. She seems like a breath of fresh air in Tempe. I've loved some of the inspiring ways that she's seen what she's going to do with this team and what the future can hold. I mean, you cannot, without the vision, people perish. You have to have a vision for what's to come. And it can be hard when you're in a building season, but I believe in the vision that she's casting. It seems to me that she knows how much work it takes to win at the highest level. And we are so excited that she is leading the charge and cannot wait to support her in the Sun Devils in this new venture of trying to climb it back up to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And, no, and I'm so excited to watch the team this upcoming season. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. So
Me too. Me
very
too.
much looking forward to it.
Hmm.
I'm curious, where were your favorite spots to go to in the Valley when you were a student?
Ooh. Honestly, we didn't really go many places, Sam. We went to the arena for practice and we went to our dorm room or our house. I will say, we had some favorite food spots because you're an athlete, you love to eat. So we would
Mhm.
train and we would eat. So we had some favorite food spots, but honestly, my very favorite thing was to live a full day at Arizona State. We'd lift weights, we'd play hoops, we'd get to school, etc. And then my favorite thing was to go back to our house. So Aubrey and I had a house on campus at the end of the day, and we would get our food and we would sit down together and we'd recount the day on our couches in our living room. That was my very favorite place to be. And we would laugh and we would, just cry and we would start our homework, but we were together. And it was my favorite place to be.
Yeah, right on, right on. What mementos from your playing career have you kept?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, okay, I just got my Letterman's jacket out of the closet because we recently moved and I am obsessed with that thing. I love it with my whole heart. So I have my Letterman's jacket. It doesn't get super cold in Atlanta, but the 1 or 2 days in the winter that it's cold enough for me to wear it, I pop that thing on so fast. I have like all of our media day posters and the during the game they'd highlight different players, and so we had those on like 8x10s, so I still have those. And then it was one of the most special gifts. Our Jessica Picarina was our trainer for I think 3 years at Arizona State, and she made this ginormous memento, a really huge binder, Aubrey and I's senior year, and she captured every single newspaper clipping, anything remarkable that stood out during the year, and she made us a scrapbook that I don't even know how much time that thing took, and so I have that thing out in my office. And every once in a while, my kids will roll through it, or I'll just take a glance back at it and look through it. And it is really, really, really special to me. And then my husband and I got Arizona State, the athletics department does a beautiful job when you're seniors of framing your jersey. And so both of him and I have our jerseys framed and have them hanging up in our gym downstairs. So anytime we need any of that physical motivation to keep in shape, we have those jerseys right there to inspire us. And those mean a lot to me as well.
In 2017, you were inducted into the Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame. What did it mean to you to receive such an honor from ASU?
It was one of the greatest honors of my life, truly. It's one of the accomplishments I think I'm most proud of. And probably because the accomplishment isn't about me at all. It's about this ecosystem of support that I had to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was blown away when I got the phone call. I mean, brought to tears. And I got a chance in that, thank you speech. I got a chance to highlight the people that have made the biggest impact on my journey as an athlete. And it was, starting with my parents and my big sister, and talking about Charlie's Finger Thorne and Meg Sanders and the everybody else at Arizona State. I mean, from our um, from the training room to our academic support. There were so many people that left a legacy and an impact on me, and then obviously to my teammates, because if you don't win, it's hard to get an award like that. And so the countless hours of suffering it takes, as you truly suffer as an athlete, and you love it, but you do, the amount of hours that my teammates were willing to submit themselves to the grueling process of being the best. It just, there is no Hall of Fame without all of those people. And so I will never forget the weekend. It's one of the most special weekends truly of my life. My parents came with us. We were actually in Atlanta at the time, living in Atlanta at the time. That was the first time that we lived here. And we flew to Phoenix with our four babies. We had just started fostering our youngest son, and we actually did get a chance to adopt him about a year and a half later. And so getting to have my three children, my husband, our adopted baby there, our foster baby, and then my parents in front of such remarkable individuals within the athletic department. It's a moment that stands out in my mind, Sam, is a moment that will be really hard to beat. And the pride that I feel in being inducted into such an incredible library of athletes is something that I don't take lightly.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. What was your reaction like? When you first heard the news.
Well, Charlie Turner Thorne had told me, so she'd kind of briefed me and said, maybe a year or two prior, like, it's coming down the pike, but I think we're gonna get you, inducted. And I remember being like, what? Like me? Why would they induct me? And my husband is one of my biggest fans. And so Grayling was like, of course they will. Like, there's nobody that's made a bigger impact on the program, which is so sweet, but it's your husband, you feel like he has to say that. And so I had in the back of my mind that Charlie, was thinking about this happening, but you're never really sure. And so when I got the call, I was just shocked. I have been accused of being somebody that's a talker, right? And Sam, I will say I was shocked, speechless. I didn't even know what to say. Just gratitude is all I felt. All I could say was, wow, thank you. Overwhelming gratitude.
It's really amazing that the school does that, and knowing
Mhm.
that you were able to be honored by by ASU in such a meaningful
Mm.
and great way. I think that that speaks a lot about not just your athletic accomplishments at this school, but it also speaks a lot about you as a person, and you're continuing to do great things. So.
Thank you, Sam. I'm so thankful that Arizona State has a program that does just that, that honors athletes. It's remarkable, and it meant a lot to me. So I want to thank Arizona State for making that type of an award even possible.
Now, after your time at ASU, you were actually drafted by the Phoenix Mercury, but you decided to not pursue a WNBA career. Just what went into making that decision?
Yeah, that was a really, really tough decision for me, Sam. And I will say there were some things that were in play that I didn't even know were going to also have an impact in the decision. But at this point in my career, I played for, competitively for 15 years. And we had the longest season that we'd ever had. And so I was coming off of, 4 years at Arizona State. My body was in really, really rough shape. My knees actually need a double knee replacement already at 40. Like my joints just haven't managed the wear and tear as well as I would have hoped. And so that did play into it, like kind of how my body was feeling. But there were several other factors. I was getting married that July. So I was trying to figure out how we were going to manage all of that. And then, what we didn't know what was going to happen was that we were going to actually lose Aubrey's father in a tragic motorcycle accident just weeks after we would have signed our intent to play in the WNBA. And so she actually, Aubrey was a free agent with the Mercury, and I got drafted in that third round. And I decided to retire, but it wasn't even maybe a week later when we lost her dad. He got hit by a drunk driver, and we ended up actually flying straight to San Diego to be with her mom, who was on the motorcycle with her dad. And then we never even walked. We actually flew straight home. Um, I mean, talk about heartbroken from her brother. And then, months later, absolutely devastated by the loss of her father. And so when I look back now, I do see sort of God working in the way that I made the decision, because we spent that next year after we graduated clinging on to each other once again and heartbroken by the loss of her family members. And so I would say, Sam, it worked out how it was supposed to work out. And I am still really grateful that I can say that I was drafted, because that is the peak of every athlete's dream, is that you would make it pro. And yet we know the statistics are so small that that rarely athletes get a chance to even have a decision around playing professional sports. So honored and humbled by being drafted. Um, I'm so thankful that the Phoenix Mercury saw something in me and wanted to invite me to camp. And yet, once again, as a theme in my life, I think God was, he's got an overall picture, a tapestry of what's going on. And in the background, he steered me to what he knew was ultimately going to be best before I even knew what was going to take place. And yeah, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets with how everything has turned out.
Yeah, definitely. No, and going off that, I mean, I mean, as we've been talking about throughout this, I mean, your faith is very important to you. How, just if you can put into words, how has your faith journey impacted your life?
Wow. What a beautiful and brilliant question, Sam. I would say there's really not a moment that I remember not having God available and not being aware of his presence. I grew up in a Christian home, and so it's just kind of always been, God has always been there for me. But I would say he is the foundation of my life. He is the way that I see the world, and he is the most important, he's the most important thing to me. And my faith, it drives and dictates, the decisions that I make, the way that I try to love, and the way that Graylin and I are raising our own children. And um, when I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing on my mind. How can I be more like Christ and continue to leave a positive legacy while I'm here? And so I am imperfect in 1,000 ways, and I'm so thankful for His grace. And I'm thankful that every day His mercies are new. And when I wake up, I get a chance um, to um, to chase my purpose, which comes directly from him. And I feel like I'm getting a chance to do that now with raising a family and my career. And so faith is the most important thing to me, Sam. And I hope and pray that people that know me would say that they believe that to be true, and that there's a bit of something different about me. And if there's anything different in any good way that anyone could see, it is because of Christ in me.
What do you consider to be the biggest blessings in your life?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I think it's people, Sam. It's people. It's my family. It's my family of origin. It's the family that I've created with Grayling. It's our community, which is deep and wide and far and spread out all over the world. It is the freedom in America to be able to practice a faith without being worried that I'm, going to be killed for it. Um, it I'm so blessed by, again, people and relationships that have gotten me where I've even gotten career wise, from the Charlie Turner Thorns to my teammates, to the experience to now even being a corporate leadership coach. I feel blessed by opportunity through by way of people who are generous with what they have and have lended that to me. I mean, Sam, I'm so deeply grateful. and blessed by all of the amazing people in my life.
It's amazing to hear, Emily, truly. How did you get into life and leadership coaching? How did that all start?
Yeah, that's a really fun question, actually, Sam, because it always goes back to Charlie Turner Thorne. So, Charlie Turner Thorne was I think she was on the forefront of considering how athletes deserved to be treated. And so, she actually brought a life coach on our staff. So, Carlette Patterson ended up working with us. Um, I, as early as I can remember in my career there, maybe 2004, 2005. And she really left a mark. She helped us um, sort through our life and some of the challenges that we face being college athletes. And so that was left a really incredible mark on me, and just the impact that she made. Carlette Patterson actually was pretty helpful in helping me transition when I was out of college sports and deciding what to do with pro sports. I spent several sessions talking to her about kind of how to think about it and how to look at it and what was going on in my sort of interior world. And so that was my first experience with coaching. And Charlie Turner Thorne ended up bringing in so many other incredible people that came and helped really build into our heart and life as a person, not just an athlete, which there was, spillover. And so after college, I decided not to play pro. And then I ended up actually, after having a career for a couple years, I stayed home with our three young children. Well, we ended up doing foster care, Sam. And so that ended up being my job for 2 years. And once we adopted our baby, I truly felt God calling me back into work outside of the home. And so when I circled back to what it is I felt like I was kind of uniquely gifted in, it was going to be a matter of counseling, social work, because I'd really grown to love and have a heart for the foster environment. And then it was coaching. And so when I just like kind of really boiled down all of those career paths and kind of who I am uniquely, which is a motivator and a driver, I found that coaching was this really perfect blend of discovering what's underneath the heart of a person, but moving them forward. And that's what coaching does. It takes you kind of from today on to where you want to go. And so that is how I decided to pursue a career in coaching. And it has been one of the most impactful decisions I've made in my adult life, hands down, bar none. The amount of transformation I've seen people create, and now this business that I have with two other incredible women, it is changing me, Sam. Getting to coach people and watch people step up to their life with so much um, intention and purpose, and watching people overcome incredibly significant challenges, all because they believe they can, is the single most motivating and inspiring factor in my life. And when I think about what I get to do now, which is walk beside another human being on planet Earth and help them see to a little bit greater depth who they really are underneath their fear and worry and overwhelm, greatest, absolute greatest blessing of my life is getting to be trusted with other people's lives. So if you can't tell that I'm passionate about it, I could go on and on and on. It's just my favorite career field, absolutely hands down.
What does it mean to you personally to be able to make a positive impact on the lives of others with what you're doing?
I mean, I don't even know how to put it into words, Sam. It means everything to me. I am humbled by it. I am grateful for the work. It keeps me hungry, growing, and motivated personally, because I just want to be a safe, trustworthy, resourced place to land for people. And it means I wake up every day, and outside of my family, who I have significant purpose and loving and leading, this is my purpose on planet Earth. And so it means a whole lot to know when I wake up in the morning that I get a chance to make a positive impact. And trust me, when I wake up, I hit the ground running, because it's so inspiring for me to continue this work forward.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I also want to compliment you on your work on social media as well. I think you do a great job with your social media presence. You putting out these great motivational videos and whatnot. No, I think it's awesome. What was the what was the process like of kind of building that social media presence for yourself?
Thank you, Sam, for saying that. I mean, we live in a technological world, whether we like it or not, right? And sometimes I find it can be really overwhelming because it's pretty noisy in the internet world. So I will say I have moments where I'm discouraged by, is anybody here? Is anybody listening? Does it anybody care? Is this making an impact? But when I really boil it down, I just try to remember that if one person is inspired or loved or seen, then that's enough. And so, as I've built a presence, which is so small, Sam, I am so small on the internet. I'm a very small fraction of voices on the internet, and I am looking to grow, to continue to grow my sphere because I do believe that we have incredible opportunities in this technological landscape to make an impact and to have doors opened because of how we express ourselves online. And so I'm not going to discount that, and I'm going to keep working to grow, Sam. But one of the ways that I fight discouragement is by reminding myself if it's just for one, then that's enough. And that keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, last question here. What is the biggest piece of advice that you have for student athletes in college?
Oh my gosh, what a question, Sam. Okay, the biggest piece of advice. Okay, here it is. It is going to go so fast. Hold on tight and leverage every day to its greatest possibility. That is my advice. It is going to go by faster than you can imagine, and you are going to suffer and have challenges, and you are going to believe that you can't make it another day. But pretty soon, your time in the sun is going to be over, and another athlete's going to get a chance to come in and have 4 years to make an impact at Arizona State. Do not let a single day go by without extracting all of the goodness. Be the best teammate that you can be the best athlete that you can be studious, take care of your studies, and don't forget to take care of every single person around you. And you will not be disappointed when your 4 years ends if you can do that.
Hey, right on, right on. That's some wonderful advice, Emily. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time today, being able to connect with you and chat with you today. It was truly an honor. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam, so much for having me. And thank you for the wonderful work and connection that you're putting out into the world. Go Devils!
Yes, absolutely. Forks up, forks
Forks
up.
up.
Absolutely.